Today, I would like to talk about identifying research gaps in social science for postgraduate studies. Without a research gaps, the researchers are unable to write a problem statement of the study. Therefore, this video highlights three main elements that the researchers should undertake for the research gap development. These three elements are defining a research gap, types of research gap, contextualizing of research gaps. Research gaps refers to areas or topics within a field of study that have not yet been extensively researched or are yet to be explored. Therefore, a research gap or a literature gaps refers to the unexplored or underexplored areas that have scope for further research. There are at least 5 types of research gaps for postgraduate studies. They are a theoretical gaps, empirical gaps, methodology gap, practical gaps, and knowledge gap. In order to understand each of these type of research gaps, we need to contextualizing each of the research gaps separately. The first is theoretical gaps. Theoretical gaps is referred to a lack of theoretical understanding or knowledge in a particular field area. It matters when there is discrepancy between existing theories and empirical evidence. There is no theory or little studies that can explain a particular phenomenon. The theoretical frameworks or models to explain a particular issues are inadequate. Example of a theoretical gap is such as there might be related to the lack of understanding of the relationship between social media use and students' academic performance. Although there is existing research on the similar topic, there might be a lack of consensus on the mechanisms that little social media use to students' academic performance outcome. The second research gap is empirical gap, which is referred to the lack of evidence or data or insufficient studies in a particular area. It matters when there is limitation to a certain time periods or geographical area. The problem requires for redefinition in the scholarly literature debate. Example of an empirical gap is such as in the field of housing studies. There might be an empirical gaps related to the lack of data on the effects of world economic uncertainties to the housing market value of supply and demand. Although there might be some studies on the same topics, there might be a lack of data on the effects of economic uncertainties to the specific types of housing markets. The third types of research gaps is methodology gap, which is always referred to the inadequacy of existing research methods or techniques to answer a research question. It matters when the existing methods used in the previous studies are not suitable for the current studies undertaken. New methods to address the gaps may need to be developed or proposed. Different types of methodology used would contribute to the different results. Example of a methodological gap is such as the researcher investigates the impact of social media use learning on the students' academic performance. However, the existing methods used in previous study are not suitable for this research question because they do not account for the self-efficiency role and its mediation on the students' academic performance. Therefore, new methods are required to capture the mediating role of self-efficiency and its impact on students' academic performance. The fourth one of the research gap is practical gap. It is a lack of practical implications or implications of existing research. It matters when the existing research outcomes or findings are not being used in practice due to a lack of such as funding, political will, or policies. Example of practical gap is such as the existing studies find that the new teaching method or approach is highly significant to improve students' performance in science subject for rural schools. However, the Education Ministry does not have the financial resources to implement the new teaching method on a large scale. Therefore, the research findings are not being used in practice due to financial constraints, which creates a practical gap. The last one is about the knowledge gap. It arises when there is a lack of information or knowledge about a particular topic or phenomenon. It matters when there is a lack of understanding or knowledge about particular issues or problem in particular study areas. Example of a knowledge gap is such as a researcher wants to investigate the relationship between outdoor learning implementation and safety issues for students and teachers. However, there is limited research in this topic and the existing studies have produced mixed results. Therefore, there is a knowledge gap in our understanding of the relationship between outdoor learning approach and safety issues of both students and teachers, which needs to be addressed by conducting more research in this area. In conclusion, before writing a problem statement of the study, the postgraduate student should be able to identify type of research gap that they wish to pursue for further explorations. And this can be undertaken by understanding the context and types of research gap for proposed study. Thank you for watching.